Howdy folks, thanks for joining me in the bar. Little John. I'm tasting up the Kegland Ready to Keg kit, the Bourbon and Coke Buckshot 101. Essentially it's a Wild Turkey 101 copy, clone, however you want to look at it. I'll put a link up to the original brew day. But essentially this is just using the Kegland ready. There's a kit that comes ready made. It's got a Vinca alcohol base, has some bourbon flavouring, some whiskey flavouring, and Coca-Cola flavouring. And you mix it all up in a keg, gas it up, and you serve it. I've got it sitting here in the keg fridge in a keg. It's a little undercarved in there, and which doesn't really do the beer do the drink the best justice. So I've taken one bottle off this morning with the old carb cap, and I've stuck extra carbonation in here to bring it up to a more realistic level to allow the actual flavours to come out. That's good. I've drunk half a glass already, so that's why there's no fizzy, but it's holding good. Now, there's a man who's drunk bourbon and coke pretty much his whole drinking life. And for the bulk of my big drinking years, I've certainly drunk bourbon and coke. From that angle, this comes across pretty good. Now, it's not quite commercial quality. It's it's not getting there, and I don't think anyone really ever thought this was going to. We're talking essences and a wine, fermented wine base. But coming from that angle, it does a really good job. It tastes like a cheap packaged bourbon and cola. And I could imagine if you're drinking cheap bottle shop bourbon and a cheap cola product, it probably wouldn't taste really any different or seem any better than this. It's got bourbon, or bourbon flavour. It's got a cola flavour. It's got a little bit of sweetness. I did hold back half of the sugar in the mix than what it suggests. So it should have another 170 grams of sugar in the 9.5 litre keg, which would make it reasonably sweeter. That's over 10 grams. It's probably like 12 grams of sugar in one of these long neck bottles extra, which is what 2 teaspoons. So that would make a bit of difference to the sweetness. But that works for me. I don't particularly like the overly heavy sweetness of commercial, pre-mixed bourbon and cokes. So it's sitting quite nicely for me. Price point, it's somewhere in the vicinity of, a little over half the price of one commercial. Again, depending on what quantities, volumes you're buying in. You're definitely getting well beyond half the quality for half the price. So if you are looking at a cheap option, definitely works. If you're actually looking for something that's going to rival a Wild Turkey 101 and cola, then You know, you're falling a little short of the mark. Not massive amounts, but if you're fussy, for want of a better word, or a bit picky, then yeah, it's not going to stand up. But that's no great surprise. I said no great surprise given the ingredients that are in the mix. You're not going to get the real deal. If you want the real deal, if you have to have the real deal, go and buy the real deal. But if you're at home and you're just looking to get, a nice, easy drinking, simple bourbon and cola, you can whack on tap and save yourself some dollars in the meantime, and is no doubt going to get you shit-faced without too much issue. You can't go wrong. You're in. You're set. I don't drink bourbon and cola in, that strength too much anymore. I'm a bit beyond drinking that amount of Coke or soft drink these days. I certainly prefer my bourbon with an equal quantity of cola at most. But back in certainly my young days when I did drink bourbon and Coke, I wouldn't have had any issue drinking that. And in all honesty, I probably don't now. Do that. Is it going to be a regular on tap of Little John's? No, it's not. But I'm happily going to drink through this keg, no problem at all, and enjoy it for what it is. Simple, easy to make bourbon and Coke, and yeah, it's easy. Go back to the brew day, you'll see. It's a matter of 10 minutes, 15 minutes to mix it up. Sticking the keg. The hardest work was having to rearrange the keg fridge when I put it in to get it on tap. This will work better if you're on a single tap system, or you've got better control over your gas than what I currently do, which I should have, but I don't. Because it certainly it needs to be up around probably 20, at least 20, and probably close to 25 psi service, because at the lower pressure, as I've got it in the keg, which is 13, 14, it does come across quite quarterly and a bit lifeless. So you definitely need that CO2 to brings up the brightness a little bit of the actual drink, and makes it a lot smoother and clearer. So you've got to get that right, because that is supremely better for having good gas on it than it is without. So just bear that in mind. If you do like a bit sweeter, push a bit more sugar, but that you can play with, because that's an addition you have to make. So it gives you a little bit of control over the level. The actual base, the Vinca base, comes in sweetness levels, and you can get it in different strengths. I think this one is like a middle of the road, a medium sweetness, so you could actually go for a less sweet base as well if you don't want it real sweet, or maybe more of a diet sort of a side. But for me, as it stands, the thumbs up. Out of 5, look, I'd give it a 3.5. Like it's good, not exceptional, but it's not bad. It's not bad. You're going to be, like I said, you're going to be pretty fussy. You get to the point of going, well, that's bad. And if that is where you're at, then you don't want to be drinking this anyway. So guys, that's it. Kegland. Ready to keg. Buckshot 101 bourbon and cola. Worth a crack if this is the sort of thing you like to drink, or have on tap just as an option for your guests when they come around for something different. That's me though. I'm done. That's it. Comments and questions down the bottom. Patrons of the channel, thank you as always for your support. There's a link down the bottom for Patreon. If you subscribe to the channel, thank you. If you aren't subscribed, hit the subscribe button down there, ring the bell. That way you'll get a notification when the new videos are in, you don't miss anything. And if you like the video, give me a thumbs up down there as well. All helps out. But anyway, for now, till I see you in the next video, we were brewing beer or beer type drinks, drinking beer or beer type drinks, or talking beer or beer type drinks. Good brewing. It's nice to see the warm weather coming back. We'll be drinking fucking Mexican cervezas before we know it. Cheers all.